Have you ever felt exhausted? Not from what you're doing, but from what you're holding on to. Not from action, but from accumulation? Welcome, fellow seeker. I'm honored to have you here on Stoic Journey, where we don't just talk about Stoicism. We live it, breathe it, and test it against the weight of modern life. Today's topic might sound simple at first. Much of things you should quietly remove from your life. But I urge you, don't underestimate it. This is not a minimalist checklist. This is an invitation to liberation. Some may argue, why let go? Isn't life about holding on to what matters? And I agree. But what if the very things you're holding are holding you back? What if peace begins not by adding more, but by removing what was never truly yours to carry? So before we go any further, don't forget to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and subscribe to Stoic Journey so you never walk this path alone. Now, let's begin the quiet art of letting go, removing other people's drama. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Marcus Aurelius. Imagine a world where you are shackled every day by the incessant problems of others. A world where you willingly absorb the drama, the anxiety, and the ceaseless emotional turbulence that drips from the lives of those around you. Today, we expose a truth that society rarely speaks of: the toxic burden of carrying other people's drama. Marcus Aurelius reminds us that character is forged when one stops wasting energy on matters beyond one's control and instead focuses on oneself. When you allow the pain and problems of friends, family, or even casual acquaintances to infiltrate your inner sanctum, you are essentially surrendering your own peace. It is a practice both insidious and widespread in our modern, interconnected society, one that leaves you cold, exhausted, and distanced from your true potential. Consider the modern office environment. You come in every day trying to focus on your own tasks, only to be dragged into disputes, gossip, or needless drama that does nothing but corrode your productivity. The relentless barrage of others' complaints or family issues infiltrate your mind like a slow poison, clouding your judgment and sapping your energy. Even if you pride yourself on being compassionate, this misplaced empathy inevitably transforms into emotional tyranny. You begin to see the constant recurrence of problems as your own. And soon, you're a prisoner in someone else's labyrinth of negativity. Ask yourself, when was the last time you truly stood aside and watched the chaos unfold without absorbing it yourself? Reflect on the overwhelming sensation of carrying burdens that were never yours to bear. Now challenge that. What if you could see these problems for what they really are, a reflection of someone else's inner turmoil? What if you instead chose to recognize and preserve your own sanctuary? Here is the concrete practice. The next time you find yourself drawn into a conversation that is riddled with negativity or unwarranted drama, pause and take a deep breath. In that moment, actively remind yourself that you are not responsible for the discontent of others. Visualize yourself standing outside the tempest, impervious and centered. Over the course of the day, take note of each instance where you begin to absorb someone else's pain. Acknowledge it, detach, and simply observe. By the end of the day, jot down in a journal the moments when you successfully created an emotional boundary. This exercise is not about shutting yourself off from empathy. It is about preserving the strength to act, to choose wisely, and above all, to remain fiercely committed to your own inner peace. Overcoming the fear of saying no. No man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. In a society that thrives on pleasing everyone and demanding perpetual availability, the act of saying no becomes a revolutionary gesture, a declaration of autonomy over your own time and soul. Epictetus's timeless observation forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that freedom is inextricably linked with self-control. Yet, how often have you found yourself bending over backwards to meet expectations, even as you watch your life slip through your fingers? The relentless fear of rejection, of disapproval, is no mere inconvenience. It is a societal disease that fosters mediocrity and crushing self-sacrifice. In our modern culture, we have been conditioned to equate yes with acceptance and no with selfishness. Whether it's the pressure to attend another social event, the incessant demand to work extra hours, or even the constant compulsion to lend an ear to someone's trivial woes, saying no is met with disappointment, guilt, or even anger. This conformity, this unconscious acquiescence, robs you of precious time and depletes your energy. And in the pitiless glare of reality, it is this very energy that fuels your pursuit of a meaningful existence. Let's look at a real scenario. Consider an overworked professional who, afraid of being labeled uncooperative, agrees to take on additional projects despite already being stretched thin. The result? A life that feels more like a treadmill of endless obligations than a journey towards personal accomplishment. You might find yourself in a similar bind. When every yes whispers a quiet erasure of your own voice, you become a shadow of who you are meant to be, a slave to the expectations and demands of an indifferent society. Pause and ask, when did you last say no without feeling a pang of guilt? What might change in your life if you insisted on preserving your own well-being by setting firm boundaries? Reflect on the idea that every time you fail to say no, you are inadvertently designing your own prison of commitments, where the walls are built of others' expectations. Here is the challenge. Identify one request or invitation this week that you instinctively want to decline. Without overthinking, practice saying no in a calm, resolute tone. Notice the discomfort at first, and then feel the liberation that ensues when you reclaim your time. Write down this experience, noting the subtle shift from guilt to self-respect. By rigorously practicing this one small step, you will begin to dismantle the invisible chains that hold you captive in a society that preaches busyness over self-care. Letting go of nostalgia for who you once were. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Seneca. Few truths are as brutally honest as the longing for a past that no longer exists. Nostalgia, when indulged in excess, becomes a cruel mirage that distorts the value of the present. Seneca's words strike at the heart of this deceit. Life is not inherently short, but it is continuously squandered in clinging to memories that serve more as chains than cherished recollections. In our society, we are bombarded with images and stories of our youthful glory, the so-called good old days that we idealize beyond reason. These fabrications of perfection stunt our growth, leaving us mired in regret and self-reproach. Modern life is relentlessly self-comparative. Social media, advertisements, and even everyday conversations are rife with comparisons that force us to look back with longing to a time when we supposedly knew how to be. But what are we really clinging to? Is it truly the vibrancy of those days, or is it an illusion carefully packaged by society to keep us from embracing the present? Instead of celebrating who we are now, scarred, resilient, and brimming with untapped potential, we chain ourselves to an idealized image of our former selves, one that was never as perfect as we remember. Ask yourself, do you find your mind wandering to better times, to moments when life seems simpler, even if those memories are tinted with selective happiness? When you do, consider this harsh reality. Living in the past is a slow death of the present. The more you romanticize who you once were, the less you invest in who you can become. The truth is, the only life that truly matters is the one you live now, with all its imperfections and brutal realities. For the exercise, take a pen and paper and set a timer for 10 minutes. Write down 3 things you remember fondly from your past, then immediately list 3 new goals or experiences you want to create in your present. Reflect on how your past, no matter how glorious, is not a blueprint for your future. This exercise is designed to shift your focus, reminding you that your vitality lies in the endless possibilities of now, not in the faded photographs of days gone by. Releasing emotional dependence on others. The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. In our desperate pursuit for external validation, many of us allow our very sense of self-worth to be shackled to the opinions and actions of others. Marcus Aurelius compels us to understand that true happiness is cultivated within, a product of our own thoughts, convictions, and self-respect. In today's society, it is painfully common to seek solace and validation in the embrace of others, to let our joy be dictated by the measure of their attention, or the frequency of their recognition. This dependency is not only disempowering, but downright destructive. It is the erosion of your inner fortress. Modern relationships, despite their veneer of connectivity and fulfillment, often mask an insidious expectation that someone else must constantly fill the void within you. Whether it's a parent clinging to the notion that their child's constant contact defines their worth, or a partner whose value is measured solely by their ability to provide emotional support, this dependency turns love into a transactional dynamic. The dependency you build on others for your emotional well-being weakens your inner resolve, making you vulnerable to the unrelenting chaos of a society that never truly stops expecting more. Reflect on the times you have looked to another person's approval to validate your decisions. Perhaps you have felt incomplete until someone told you that you were enough, an affirmation so fleeting that its loss plunges you into an abyss of self-doubt. Ask yourself, when did you last feel genuinely whole without depending on someone else's reassurance? The stark truth is that the only relationship you can, and truly must, nurture is the one with yourself. For today's excerpt, I challenge you to dedicate 1 uninterrupted hour this week solely to self-reflection. Turn off your phone, close the door, and engage in a silent meditation or journaling session. Focus on your thoughts and appreciate the power they hold. Write down statements that affirm your worth independent of external validation, such as "I am enough" or "My value comes from within." This practice is your first step in reclaiming the masterful control over your mind, a control that society has long tried to wrest from you in exchange for comfort. Discarding material attachments. It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Epictetus. In an age where consumerism reigns supreme, the desire to cling to material possessions is a reflection of our internal struggle, a desperate attempt to tether happiness to objects that ultimately hold no lasting value. Epictetus's profound insight reminds us that our response to life's events is what truly determines our state of being. Yet, modern society bombards us with the idea that ownership, accumulation, and the display of possessions equate to success and fulfillment. This narrative, driven by relentless advertising and social pressure, is nothing short of a trap that corrodes our freedom. Think of the countless items you have acquired, many of which no longer serve a purpose beyond eliciting a transient sense of pride or identity. Each object you accumulate can become a weight, a constant reminder of a misplaced value system that equates being with having. Our homes become storage units for memories, some cherished and others burdensome, each piece a relic of a past that no longer defines who we are. Yet, it is the emotional baggage attached to these items that is most damaging, the weight of nostalgia, guilt, or even superficial attachment that holds you captive. Ask yourself, is that gadget, that piece of furniture, or that sentimental trinket really adding value to your life, or is it silently caging you in a past that no longer serves? In the harsh light of truth, many of these possessions reveal themselves as more liabilities than assets, reminders of societal expectations rather than expressions of authentic self. The practical exercise is clear. Choose one item in your living space that you have kept solely for its emotional attachment rather than practical use. This week, set aside a few moments to inspect that object. Contemplate its true significance, acknowledge what it represents, then decide whether it still contributes positively to your life. If not, donate it, recycle it, or simply remove it from your space. Document your feelings in a journal. As you begin to cut these cords of material attachment, you will notice that the physical and emotional clutter gradually fades, leaving you with room to nurture the bonds and experiences that truly enrich your life. Reducing draining relationships. Associate with people who are likely to improve you. Seneca. In our relentless pursuit to belong, to be connected, many of us become entangled in relationships that are as parasitic as they are familiar. Seneca's potent words warn us against the toxic tendency to surround ourselves with negativity, a stark reminder that not every bond is a sanctuary. In today's hyper-connected world, social circles are often defined more by convenience and obligation than by genuine mutual growth. The result is an endless cycle of interactions where the energy you pour into relationships is drained by those who are either indifferent or, worse, toxic. Modern society often glamorizes the idea of having lots of friends or social connections, but this superficial measure ignores the essential quality of these interactions. In reality, spending time with individuals who undermine your self-confidence, criticize your ambitions, or constantly demand your attention in unbalanced ways is like willingly inviting emotional vampirism into your life. The very concept of friendship and partnership becomes distorted when the scales are tipped, when the relationship subtracts from your well-being rather than adding to it. Consider the story of a creative entrepreneur who once surrounded himself with so-called friends who only contacted him when they needed favors or financial help. Over time, he began to feel isolated, deeply aware that he was sacrificing his own growth and dreams to appease others. This isn't an isolated incident. It is a grim reality for many who, in a desperate bid to belong, allow themselves to be exploited. The dark truth is that every moment spent in a draining relationship is a moment stolen from your potential, a moment that could have been used to nurture dreams, build wealth, or simply foster peace. So I ask you, without hesitation, how many of the relationships in your life leave you feeling empty, exhausted, or diminished? Reflect on the cost of these connections. What if instead you had the courage to surround yourself only with those who inspire, challenge, and propel you toward a greater version of yourself? While it might hurt in the short term to sever these ties or impose strict boundaries, the long-term liberation and growth that follow are invaluable. For a tangible exercise, I challenge you this week to list the individuals in your life. Beside each name, write a brief note about the energy they bring into your day, positive or negative. Then, identify one person who consistently drains you. In a measured, thoughtful manner, plan a conversation or establish a boundary that will reclaim some of your lost time and energy. Whether it is reducing your interactions or addressing specific behaviors, this act of reclaiming your emotional sovereignty is a testament to your commitment to self-improvement, stopping the need to justify yourself. If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it. Desuits. Marcus Aurelius. In a society gripped by relentless judgment and the constant hunger for approval, the necessity to justify your choices becomes one of the most oppressive burdens. Marcus Aurelius exposes this stark reality. It is not the actions of those around us that disturb our peace, but the interpretations and judgments we impose on our lives. The very act of explaining yourself, of feeling compelled to validate every decision, every nuance of your identity, renders you vulnerable to the corrosive opinions of others. In our digital age, where every action is dissected and critiqued by an endless crowd of strangers and acquaintances alike, the impulse to justify becomes both common and catastrophic. The modern individual, bombarded by social media, peer reviews, and unsolicited advice, is entrapped in a cycle of constant self-justification. You might have experienced the incessant need to defend your choices, be it your career path, your lifestyle, or simply the way you choose to spend your free time. This habit is not merely an inconvenience. It is a brutal manifestation of a society that refuses to let you be. When you allow the opinions of others to dictate your actions, you surrender your agency and reduce your existence to a series of explanations, always apologizing for the inevitable divergence between who you are and who society expects you to be. The harsh reality is that by continuously seeking external validation, you inadvertently invest your time and energy in a battle for approval that you can never truly win. Your authentic self becomes obscured, diminished by the need to conform to standards that are not your own. It is time to confront the societal norm with the icy truth. You do not owe anyone an explanation for living your life on your own terms. Ask yourself in a moment of raw honesty, when was the last time you made a decision purely for yourself, without the need to justify it to someone else? Think of that moment, how liberating it felt to be unapologetically yourself. This is the freedom you should strive for. A freedom that rejects the endless cycle of justification and instead embraces self-assurance. Here's a direct exercise to initiate that transformation. Reflect on a recent decision where you felt compelled to explain your choices to someone, a meal you chose not to attend, an idea you hesitated to share, or simply a moment when you held back. Write down the decision, and then draft a concise affirmation of why your choice was valid, independent of external opinions. Save it as a reminder for those moments when you feel the pressure to justify yourself. Over time, this practice will help you internalize the understanding that your decisions are yours alone, and that true strength lies in the confident acceptance of that truth. Conclusion. By now, you have been introduced to a series of hard truths about our everyday lives. We have dissected the damaging effects of absorbing other people's drama, the crippling nature of never saying no, the paralyzing allure of nostalgia, the harmful dependence on external validation, the illusory comfort of material attachments, the toxic drain of unworthy relationships, and the oppressive need to justify every aspect of who you are. These are not mere habits or minor quirks of modern existence. They are systemic issues, deeply embedded in the very fabric of our society. Each segment has shown that the practices we cling to are, in fact, chains that keep us from reaching our true potential. We have confronted the dark underbelly of modern life, a culture that values conformity over freedom, superficial connections over genuine growth, and external approval over inner worth. Yet, within this stark examination lies an opportunity to peel back the layers of societal conditioning and build a life founded upon the principles of Stoic philosophy, resilience, autonomy, and an unwavering commitment to one's own peace. I challenge you now, take these exercises seriously. Recognize that the path to liberation is forged not by adding more responsibilities or climbing higher ladders of expectation, but by ruthlessly shedding the burdens that have held you captive for far too long. This is your call to rebirth. The process begins with a single step of radical self-honesty. Remember, our journey is not just about surviving in a world steeped in despair and hypocrisy. It is about rising above it with an indomitable spirit. By actively rejecting what doesn't serve you, by embracing the cold, hard truths, and by practicing these exercises daily, you cultivate an inner freedom that no external force can shatter. You decide, with unyielding determination, that you refuse to be defined by the dark currents of societal decay. Instead, you choose to be the architect of your own destiny, a soul that is resilient, unburdened, and fiercely independent. In a world that constantly demands explanations for your existence, hold fast to the belief that your value is inherent, not earned through the fleeting judgments of others. Let the words of Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca be your guiding light as you navigate this treacherous landscape. For every moment you reclaim, every boundary you set, and every unnecessary possession or toxic relationship you discard, you are forging a path toward true freedom. This body of thought is an unvarnished, unflinching look at the societal traps that keep us from living authentically. It is a fierce, almost brutal reminder that sometimes the only way to rise is to strip away every layer of expectation until only the core of your true self remains. And from that core you will discover a strength that is both terrifying and magnificent, a force that no external storm can ever diminish. Let these practices be your daily meditation. Let every no you utter, every object you let go, and every toxic tie you sever be an act of defiance against a culture that would have you live a life of quiet desperation. Embrace the profound truth that by letting go of what is not yours to bear, you make space for the limitless potential within you. I urge you to join this relentless pursuit of self-liberation, to commit to the hard work required, and to share your journey with others who might be trapped in the same cycles. In doing so, you not only free yourself, but also inspire a broader movement, a movement towards a society where individuals are unafraid to be unapologetically themselves, where compassion does not come at the cost of one's inner peace, and where self-mastery triumphs over conformity. Now, as you stand at the crossroads of possibility and convention, take a moment to reflect on what you have learned. Write down your thoughts, share your struggles, and celebrate even the smallest victories. The journey is arduous, but each step forward is a conquest over the shadows that have too long plagued our modern existence. This is your invitation to confront, to evolve, and ultimately, to reclaim the freedom that is rightfully yours. May the harsh clarity of these truths guide you to a life free of the burdens that once restrained you, and may you find solace in the fact that every act of letting go is a step toward a brighter, unyielding future. As we reach the end of today's journey into reclaiming your inner freedom, I invite you to take a moment to reflect on the raw, unfiltered truths we've explored together. If this message resonates with you, even in the smallest way, please hit the like button, share this video with those who might also be ready to break free, and subscribe to join our ever-growing community on Stoic Journey. Now, here's a challenge. Over the next 5 days, commit to this short, transformative exercise. Download or jot down the checklist we've shared on screen. Each day, tackle one aspect of letting go, be it silencing external drama, asserting your no, or detaching from needless material ties. Then come back here and share your experiences in the comments below. Let us know what shifts you notice, how your mindset evolves, or even the difficulties you face in this challenge. Your honest insights not only support your own journey, but inspire and guide others in our community. I encourage you to interact wholeheartedly. Ask questions, share your victories and setbacks, and let's create a space where genuine conversation and mutual growth thrive. This is not just about passive viewing, it's about actively forging a path to inner mastery and liberation in today's challenging world. Remember, every act of release and every decision to prioritize your well-being is a revolutionary step toward a life lived authentically. I believe in the power of our shared struggles and triumphs, so please comment below with your thoughts, your progress on the 5-day challenge, and anything else you'd like to add. Your voice matters, and it is the spark that can ignite change in others. Thank you for engaging with this deep dive into Stoicism and modern living. I genuinely appreciate your time and presence here. If you found value in this content, share it with someone who may need this fresh perspective. And don't forget, the strength to transform your life begins with one courageous step. Now let's embark on this 5-day challenge together. Hit like, subscribe, and share your journey in the comments. I can't wait to read your stories and grow together on this path to self-liberation. Stay strong, stay true, and as always, thank you for being a part of Stoic Journey.